So this episode will be interesting, if not for the sole reason that I'm going to sit here and be concerned about whether or not what I do ends up saving and or disappearing. Hopefully not. Welcome back to another episode of my still relatively new Arizona Cardinals Draft to Glory franchise mode series. In this episode, we go through the first draft yet again after the previous crash. Before we get into it, because I already know who I'm taking with the number one pick as voted on by you guys, I want to get to a couple of your comments. First of all, Peter and the others that left comments to this effect, thank you for sticking with the series. Ronaldo Brown, again, as Noel Guzman pointed out, you might be new to Draft to Glory, but regardless, no trades. We don't trade up, we don't trade for extra picks, nothing. Only the picks that we get every year, unless it's a game like NHL or like MLB where you can get compensation. You know, through like in the NHL, you'd have offer sheets and everything. But with that not being a thing in the NFL, we don't have to worry about it. Use the news to find superstar dev players. You must have missed the part at the end of the last episode where I literally listed to you every single player that was on the news. So, Cam, you've been exposed for someone who did not watch the entire episode, but I forgive you. Don't waste extra points on kickers and punters. Only reason I did is that it tells me what round they're projected to be drafted in. That's all. That is all. Aside from that, just a bunch of, hey, who are we kind of looking at? Although, B. Curdy, as far as this idea, taking rookies who aren't currently on a team and building them up, not a bad way to go. For me, that I'm not going to say it's a bit of a shortcut, because I don't know what rookies you're taking, what ones, and how they're going to pan out overall and potential and everything. But it's not a terrible idea. We'll call it a Draft to Glory light. That said, I want to get right down to business and get through this first year draft, because there is a lot of pressure on my shoulders right now, because the original first year draft that we did worked out so well for us. Getting a quarterback, getting Rush, getting Gaithers, and that's gone. So now I have to try and live up to that standard of hitting the mark and having a draft of that caliber. The difference is, though, via the popular vote, we're not taking a quarterback with this first overall pick. We're not taking a running back. We're not taking a wide receiver. We're not taking an offensive lineman. As voted on by you, the number one pick in this draft is going to be Le'Veon Cole out of Oregon, the corner who is just absolutely ridiculous. Now, one thing that was pointed out, and it's a little bit of a concern, is that he is 23 years old. So in terms of his development time and when he's going to be in his prime, he might be a tad bit too old. But we don't want to restrict ourselves to just drafting 21 and 22-year-olds. Bottom line is, even if we finally start making the playoffs towards the end of his prime and really towards his latter years, he's still going to be a very useful player for us. And, based off the combine grades, I expect him to be amazing. So let's see what we have here. He is an 82, quick development, again at 23 years old, third in true talent. We take him at number one. I'm not too upset about that. Again, he is perhaps not a franchise corner, but maybe not a Hall of Fame corner, but he's going to be very, very good for us, so I'm not upset. He's rapid. Man and zone are both solid. The tackle's a little bit low. Yeah, I have no regrets about that pick whatsoever. I'm fine with the decision that you guys made. That said, I am probably just going, we'll take a look. I do normally just try to skip ahead. At least we weren't the Bucks. Oh my God. They fell for Gaylor. Ouch. 73 overall. I was going to say, I was just going to sim. Manning's an 81. That is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sim to the second round, and we'll take a look back through the entire first round to see some of that high-end talent. As Evan Nicholson goes off the board, that could have been a very useful player for us. But let's see who's still on the board. Quarterbacks, there are two, Russell Happ, and Wade Blanchard. Running back-wise, the number one running back in the draft, Jamon Hughes, is still available. Wide receiver-wise, J.J. Carr is still available. Great height, solid vert jump, solid hands. One downside, he's not very fast, but he is available. Tight end-wise, unfortunately, the number one man is off the board. I'm not against looking at players that were projected to go in the second round, like Mike McKay, Latavian Richard, and Spencer. It's not Spencer. That is Spencer Weathersby. Not against looking at these guys, but it is interesting for me, at least to see who's fallen out of the first round. So we'll continue to look there first and foremost. And no one on the defensive side. Gervonta Hodge, a right end. Not that strong, not that agile. Great vert jump means nothing, so he certainly won't be considered at this point. Any other first-round talents fall out of that round? Bryson Hayden is available, although I don't know if that's a good thing. I mean, the 40 time isn't horrific. Solid agility, which, for the pursuit and finesse moves, helps. He could be a decent option. Kendron Best and Antoine McIntosh, who we'll definitely try to get later on in this draft. So the option is there to take either Hap. I'm going to go with Hap as opposed to Hape. Hap is there. We have Blanchard. Again, Jamon Hughes, who is the best running back in this draft, or J.J. Carr. I'd probably go for a quarterback or a running back over Carr. I know he has the height and good hands. I just wish he was a little bit faster. He's an interesting one, though. And then for second-round talent, again, like Turner Dugan, who was one of the featured players, by the way. Again, keep that in mind. He was a Draft Stories player, so we don't necessarily have to get Hap or Blanchard. Dugan could be picked up in the third round as well, so it might be worth waiting. And again, we don't have any running backs projected for the second round, so that's a little bit disappointing. Mike McKay, I want to take a look here, actually. Same thing, decent height, not that fast, not that agile, at least in terms of rankings. We have Richard, decent speed, solid hands. He might be the better way to go, especially for a 21-year-old wideout. And then there's Weathersby, who is rapid, ridiculous speed and agility. The height and the vert jump, not quite there, though, which always scares me for deep threats, because, again, if they're not gone, just clean gone, the ball's going to be picked, bottom line. So it's always a tad bit concerning. Bennett Agers, not too impressed with that. We got Curtis Nading Banks Mills as well. Mills not that strong, definitely more of an agile type, but still decent strength for Curtis Nading. Right. It's kind of a tough call. Cedric Holloway, not that bad. Man, there are more solid choices here than not that I was hoping for. It's nice to have options, but I can't say it's the perfect scenario for us. Scott Reese is, of course, still there. I gotta be honest, and maybe it's a mistake, but I can't help but think that Jamon Hughes might be the way to go. He's pretty damn well-rounded. He's younger. I think we get Hughes here. Take one of the three quarterbacks, whoever's left. That's the problem. We don't exactly have, no pun intended for the other series, but we don't exactly have a set plan right now for who we're looking to get. It's just taking the best available. I don't know if Nading or Mills, if they're going to be amazing, so we could fill out the offensive line later. Defensive line as well. Not entirely sure. Again, with Hodge, it's an absolute no from him or for him. Bryson Hayden, that's solid agility. But I'm going to go with my gut on this one. I'm going to take Jamon Hughes for the fact that he is still available out of Penn State, the 21-year-old. Let's do it. Hughes is an 80 with quick development. 12th overall in true talent. We get him with the 33rd pick. I am quite happy with that. No complaints from me. Solid addition to the team, again, even if it's not exactly who we had in mind. Break tackle's a bit low, but the speed is solid. Trucking stiff arm a bit low. Decent elusiveness. Solid spin move as well. I'll take it. The question is, do we end up with one of those three quarterbacks in the third round? But yeah, very much not upset with the additions thus far. Let's see who else we have available to us. And Dugan and Hap are both still on the board, as is Blanchard. We might be able to push his back for another round, to get a quarterback here. Not bad. Not bad at all. A couple of those running backs went off the board, though, so I mean, Storm Gordon, though. Storm Gordon. Damn, maybe I should have held off and drafted Storm Gordon. What a name. Weathersby still available. A couple of wideouts here at this point in time. A couple of tight ends also still available, including Quantavious Overstreet, fresh off of a Key and Peele sketch. Is there anybody else? Douglas Barnes is available. Anybody else fall? Daron Carroll still available. Solid strength. Agility's a bit lower. 23-year-old, though. Not looking that bad. Anybody else fall out of the second round? That's the real question. Frank King also on the board. Someone still worth keeping an eye on, for sure. You got George Finch. And McIntosh is the only safety that we would consider. And Bruce Tootin as well, who I hopefully, can draft, but I'm not going to take him this early on. So as long as there are still those 3 quarterbacks available, I'm feeling somewhat confident in taking somebody else. In terms of who we would take between the two, I would probably go for Blanchard, with him being more of a traditional running back. He is also 21, so a year younger. Turner Dugan, again, was a draft stories player, but he's 24 years old, so he wouldn't be a long-term solution. So let's take a look again here. Weathersby, same thing, rapid, but I don't know how much I trust it. Ishmael King, 6'6", with an unreal vert jump. Decent speed and agility with solid hands. Ishmael King might be my favorite. John Perry, another really tall wideout with solid jumping. And again, same thing. Might not be all that bad. I wish Spectacular Catch was just regular catch. That'd be cool. Craig King, this is nuts, man. This is nuts. In fairness, I'd probably go for Ishmael King. Tight end wise, Quite Timms. I mean, we're not going to be looking for a tight end unless we're guaranteed for them to be amazing. Douglas Barnes on the O-line. That strength is way too low. Way too low. I'm just taking him off the list outright. I'm not even going to consider him. Daron Carroll, again, solid strength. We also have LaMarcus Reed, who, granted, is a speed rusher, but I wish that strength was a little bit higher to match. Antoine Barksdale, fairly well-rounded. 35 reps on the bench for the 22-year-old. Might be the right time to take a defensive lineman, Everett Payne, which is a tremendous name. Again, relatively fast, very agile, decent strength. Also might not be a bad pick. Frank King was projected as a late third-rounder. Again, the pursuit, the tackling, the hit power could be a bit of a monster. So what I'm looking at here, we're going to avoid a quarterback because there are still 3 on the board that I'm interested in. In terms of anything else, Ishmael King, Dejon Perry could be decent. There are some decent defensive options, including Carroll and Barksdale. But I think the one that's kind of won me over, I want to see how good Frank King is. I'm very intrigued at the fact that he hits like a truck. I'm going to go with Frank King. And I'm not necessarily going to regret it. Time will tell. He's 15th in true talent. We got him at 65, so that's great. He's a 79 overall. But normal development. Now, he is young enough that could turn into quick, and that could really help build up his momentum. But that's interesting. I'm not totally against that selection. We'll see how he develops. I think that's a wait-and-see kind of selection as far as whether or not we end up regretting that pick. But for now, at the very least, 79 overall, still a very useful player, and certainly in the early stages of the series, better than we could hope for otherwise. Quarterback-wise, we might be in trouble, and we are. All 3 went off the board. So no quarterback unless I take one of these 2 just to fill out the roster. Ouch. Ouch. So we're not going to be looking at any quarterbacks. I'm going to keep my eye on Storm Gordon. Wide receiver-wise, we do have Weathersby still there. Branch Barty, fairly well-rounded. Nothing too crazy. Decent hands, though. Not terrible as a slot option. And Barry Clark, another 6'5" monster with good jumping and decent hands. But I don't know. wideout-wise, not really feeling it. There's still Timms as well on the O-line. Of course, you're here in the fourth round. We have Joey Trotter. Could be decent, at least to play a role. He's not going to be an amazing game changer for us. Is there anybody else? Devin Walls, I'd love to get in the 5th to 6th round. We have a couple of other linebackers. Let's actually take a look at him. Derek Nichols, fairly well-rounded. 24, though, so he's not going to be anything amazing. CJ Miles, 22, decent speed and agility. Not totally against that. Blair Reinhardt as well, who has a great name. Decent speed and agility. Who else? And Antoine I might take McIntosh here to make sure that we end up with him. You know what? That's the play. I'm going to take Antoine McIntosh here to make sure we end up with him. He was one of the draft story players that we didn't get around to scouting. Combine grades are pretty solid. Let's do it. We're taking McIntosh. And okay. Now, trust me, I wouldn't have marked him down if it was one of the negative draft stories. So that is unfortunate. Ouch. Antoine, you broke my heart, buddy. Case in point as to why draft stories don't always pan out now, do they? Whew. I am certainly not feeling as confident about this draft as opposed to the other one. A little bit more controversy, I would say. Matthew Youngblood's the only quarterback left, which hurts. Weathersby, Barty still there. So, I mean, got a couple of tight ends left. It's slim pickings here in round 5. But, I mean, with the 3 picks we have left, I gotta be honest, Devin Walls was another one of those draft story players. Don't make me regret it. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christmas. Okay. So, you know, what we've learned here today is that some people hype up draft stories a bit too much. I mean, the combine scores weren't great. They were okay. To the point where you might think, okay, maybe like a lower 70, but good development. No. No good developments at all. So the 2 draft story players we've gotten so far with Walls and McIntosh, at least that were later on in this draft, have been horrific. Absolutely horrific. Jesus. Right, well, I only have 6 players left, including Matthew Youngblood, who as a scrambler might not be that bad. We have Morgan Bass, who has some speed, but otherwise I'm concerned. I gotta be honest, I'm going for Bruce Tootin. I'm going for Bruce Tootin. We have our franchise punter, at the very least. He is 21. He'll be here for the duration, so congratulations, Mr. Tootin. And let's hope that kicker is available in round 7. I cannot believe how bad those 2 draft stories players were. That was the worst. And Brandon Chandler out of UMaine, go Black Bears, is going to be the pick here just to get this out of the way. He is a 71, so not quite what I was hoping for, but still, he will do the job for now. It kind of looked like Nate Diaz too. Again, at least he did there. Very big difference between the player picture there and the other look we got at him. That draft has set us on a much, much different path from what we had the first time around. The Cole pick looks solid. No complaints about that. Getting Hughes at the start of the 2nd round, also solid. King, promising. But from there with McIntosh and Walls, just yikes. That is unfortunate. We'll look elsewhere here. We know Gaylor was a bit of a swing and a miss. He at least has superstar development, so he's got that going for him. Drawn Manning with quick development. Ishak Dunn, quick development for him. Griffin Dane with quick development. I wish you could see the development better. I'm not having to click. Cy Hansen, quick development. Rayvon Pamphile. Oh my God. Whew. Beast. Solomon Collier, not looking too bad, but he's 24. Tucker Larson, superstar, but he's 24 years old. Terrence Perkins with quick development was an 83. Mitch Watson, quick development for him. Corey Griggs, who had some support, and rightfully so, superstar development for the 22-year-old. Reed Redding was second in voting. He had quick development at an 81. Parker McGee, quick development for him. Jerron Haynes, star development for the 23-year-old. And Adonis Steed, quick development for the 22-year-old. You also had guys like Powers, Eachus, Bradley Peck. Trying to remember what other guys. Reginald Boone was one of the big wide receiver options. Quick development for him. Who else did we have that was like a major player consideration-wise? I mean, you can at the very least get a look at the overalls. As far as the development patterns, let me know if there was a player you wanted to see that you would have preferred me to try and draft. And I will try to track them down. Just let me know in the comment section at least what their position was, and I'll be able to track them down. So again, that was absolutely brutal. There's no other way to put it. That was horrific. I need to set up this roster, which, you know what, there's a fairly quick and easy way to do it. So here, you want to see? Here, take a look at our method to setting up this roster. You ready? Because this is what we do at the start of every season. We look for the lowest overall guy, Alec Torgerson. Welcome aboard, buddy. We'll also take Austin Allen. He is the lowest one. He will end up being our starter this season. Running back wise, we know we only need 2. Eric Dye, an undrafted rookie. Again, he will not be staying here. That's the key. We don't re-sign anybody. We just let them go unless they're players that we drafted. That's the key. So we will constantly have roster turnover. Lawrence Thomas, congratulations. I am going to jump cut from here, but this is the process that we do. I wish I could sign Larry Fitzgerald. This is the process that we go through. I'll see you guys in a moment when this roster is established. So, yeah, God, that draft sucked. All right, well, the team's set. Again, not as good of a team as I would have liked, but we are up to a 48 overall, which I actually think is down from last year. Let's take a look at the squad, shall we? It's going to be a rough year. Quarterback is Austin Allen because I go off of sorting the depth chart, and he was the lowest guy. Jamon Hughes, get ready, buddy. Get ready. It's going to be a rough year for you. We don't have any wide receivers. We don't have any tight end help. We did not draft a single offensive lineman because, hey, draft story players like the defensive tackle Walls and the safety McIntosh, because that's always a safe bet. Hi, Devin. How you doing? You're a 66. Good luck. You better develop. And, of course, on the outside, Frank King, still looking pretty good. Le'Veon Cole, looking really good. Really good. And then you got the freaking Antoine McIntosh. And, of course, we have our kicker and our punter out of the way. So why the hell not? Granted, our kicker, kind of disappointing, but he is there. How will this team do? It's almost impossible to do worse than last year's team, who only won a single game, but I can't help but think 0-16 might just be on the horizon as we have multiple 91s. Let's go with the old West Coast or the zone run. Who gives a shit? And I still think, I mean, we might as well run the 4-6 because who cares, right? Who cares? So I will see you guys shortly. I'll update you if anything interesting happens. Otherwise, we're still in the early stages where the regular season does not matter, and it's about getting to as many drafts as possible. So, you may have noticed already, we tied in week 1. Because, of course, we tied in week 1. The San Francisco 49ers again. We beat them last year, but this time they fought back and got the draw. My God, the Niners suck. It is time for our first bit of scouting. Again, just wanted to double check. You cannot import a draft beyond the first year, so just to confirm that for you, that way we know what's up. Again, we'll be keeping an eye out on draft stories, but boy howdy am I going to not trust that as much, which, you know, was a strategy that worked out for me in Buffalo, and trusting draft stories hasn't worked out so far now. So we'll see what happens. But I wanted to update you on that. And actually, let's check to see. Who is this injury? Who are you? Oh, good. It's Jamon Hughes out for 2 weeks. 0 wins, 15 losses, and 1 draw. Your 2019 Arizona Cardinals. Needless to say, we have a long way to go to take a look at the awards and everything to wrap things up for this year. Aaron Rodgers wins the MVP, Coach of the Year, Bill O'Brien. In the AFC, of course, we're going to scroll through this relatively quickly because it has no bearing on what we're doing over here in Arizona, although obviously it was one hell of a year for the Chargers. We know that much. In the NFC, though, I mean, I doubt we had anybody do all that well, running back-wise, or defensive player of the year-wise. Whoops. Thought I was still on quarterback of the year. Regardless, didn't have anybody there. Offensive rookie of the year, Jamon Hughes, did finish in second in the voting. That's not bad. Defensive rookie of the year, Frank King. I'll take that. Cole actually finished in sixth. You also had McIntosh and Walls up there. Best quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Best running back. Unfortunately, we didn't have anybody in the top 10 in that regard. No offensive lineman drafted. Nobody there. What about for linebackers? Nobody there. Defensive backs? Maybe. Nope. Nope. And even for kickers, nobody there. A brutal year for us. Let's double check these upgrades. Make sure we don't have anything. We do. 1 point for one Frank King. And Frankie, we got to start making you a little bit more well-rounded if this is going to work out for us. You and your quick development. Was he quick? Yeah, he was normal development before, right? So there you go. He already went up to quick development. That could be quite helpful. I actually am going to make him better as a run stopper. I do want to try and make him a little bit more well-rounded, but maybe we'll just focus on run stopper for now, and hopefully everything else kind of builds up around him. That said, the injury, I'm not concerned about. Let's take a look around the league. We finished the season as a 49 rated team, which is absurd. Let's go ahead and look at the stats for this season, at least for the players that we actually care about. So, rushing-wise, Jamon Hughes, 611 yards, only 1 touchdown on the season, at least rushing. Receiving-wise, he's the only guy we care about. So 2 touchdowns total this year for Jamon Hughes. Not great. And for the record, 13 touchdowns from Austin Allen. So it could have been a bit better. Blocking-wise, we literally have no one to care about. Defensively, though, Frank King with 136 tackles on the year, which is amazing. We also have Antoine McIntosh, 86 tackles on the year, no picks. Le'Veon Cole, 81 tackles on the year with an interception. And Devin Walls, 57 tackles on the year, 2 sacks this season. Kicking-wise, you had Chandler, 9 of 13. Yikes. Punting-wise, 4,199 yards. Vastly outracing Austin Allen in terms of total yardage. Good Lord. I think that sums up where we are right now. I don't even want to see just how badly we were killed. Total offense, 600 fewer yards than the Dolphins. Passing wise, surprisingly, not the fewest passing yards. The Steelers suck, apparently. Rushing yards, by far the fewest. We averaged 9 points a game. Look out, this offense is coming for you. In terms of total yardage allowed, nearly, go figure, the Patriots allowing, Jesus Christ, 4-12. I know Brady retired, but goddamn. Passing yards allowed, we actually, we did okay. We did okay. So go figure. Rushing yards allowed, though, Jesus, we got absolutely killed. What a strange team this is at the moment, which is not surprising by any stretch of the imagination. That said, I do want to take a look as Bradley Turner wins the Heisman. We will definitely keep an eye out for him. You also have a QB showdown, Tiffin and Boggs. I don't really care. Xavier Tarrant in the bottom left-hand corner there has a ton of speed, so we got that going for us. You also have Rashard Martin with a ton of strength. Of course, Gaylor won the Heisman last year, so there is that. So Bradley Turner is the big name to keep an eye out for in terms of draft stories. There really weren't any other players throughout the year, I gotta be honest. So right now, we are good to just advance through the playoffs. We'll see who ends up in the Super Bowl, take a look at what the full matchups were. But aside from that, it's going through free agency, seeing how everyone, pans out, and then it's getting right back. Rams and Browns. Again, keep in mind, this was not a fantasy draft series. I don't care about the Pro Bowl rosters right now, let's be honest. We don't have anybody on them. I don't care. Rams and Browns in the Super Bowl. This was not a fantasy draft series. That is hilarious. I want to take a look at the journey that both of these teams had. And then we'll get that. I mean, my money, it's on. God damn it, I always hit the wrong one. It switches after this. But I want the Browns to win because of the memes. So the Browns ended up beating the Chargers, the Bucks beat the Giants, Jets over the Titans, and Rams over the Packers. You then had the Browns upset Houston, the Rams beat Seattle, the Bengals they didn't quite crush the Jets. The Bucks crushed Washington, though. And in the conference matchup, Cleveland beat Cincinnati, and the Rams beat the Bucks. What the hell is this franchise mode at this point in time? I don't understand anymore. I just don't. Come on, Cleveland. I believe in you, although we do need to get to handling the scouting. We are currently looking at some extra corners. Rutland, you know what? We're still going to mark him down. Looking at some extra corners. Unfortunately, there is not an O-line scout available. I am still going to scout out the 4th round. So the O-line is the only spot where we haven't scouted. I'm not going to waste points on those extra 5th round talents. So point-wise, it could end up being a little bit close in terms of, unfortunately, us not being able to check out that many O-linemen. But we'll see what we have here. Tanner Strickland looking pretty good. Again, I'll give you guys a full look at all of our options for the upcoming number 1 pick. I can't imagine anybody went 0-16 if we didn't. But we'll see what happens. Again, as the Rams win the Super Bowl 30-24. That is unfortunate. The dream did not come true. All of those players that we ended up signing, they are on the way out. We'll fill out this roster heading into next season. For now, we move forward. I'll give you guys a look, of course, at what happens free agency-wise, but the focus is trying to find out as much information on the top offensive line options as we can. And you can kind of tell, at least for some spots, it's a little bit weaker than others. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. Of course, not having the extra point boost is tough. I have looked for coaches, or at least looked for coaches at the start of the year that had the extra scouting points boost. Nobody available, unfortunately. And we are, wow, those right tackles, we are a long ways away from earning that ourselves. As it is not looking like the best class for offensive linemen. It's looking pretty damn rough as we'll look to scout out projected 3rd round talents here. But yeah, not looking like a great draft. I don't really think we're going to be missing out on much, thankfully. So kind of worked out in that the offensive line options were going to be the players that we weren't going to be able to get the most information on. You get the point. I got to be honest, I'm shook from that last draft. I cannot believe how poorly that went for us. It's so frustrating. So frustrating to have had our first draft on the first attempt go so well. And now here's this extra curveball that we really, really didn't need. I'm actually going to take a look here at Haynes Maxwell. Ooh. Okay, you're all shit. That's good to know. Those were the last players that we were going to be able to scout, by the way. So let's take a look here, shall we, with the free agency recap first and foremost. Around the league, Brandon Scherf, the Sheriff, to Tampa. A couple of big-time signings here, actually. Derrick Henry to the Patriots, Devin McCourty to the Vikings. Again, I'll scroll down far enough, at least to the 90s, the 80 overalls. So you can at least get a look at what's been going on. So those are the happenings around the league. I suppose, let me know if you want me to take a look at the Super Bowl winner. For now, though, I am going to jump into this, and we're going to take a look at all the best options. And of course, yet again, it'll be up to you guys for what we do, at least with the first overall pick. So I do have everybody added to the board thus far. Clearly, there are a lot of quarterbacks in this draft. So every single one of those guys are going to be available. And I mean, Joey McCormick, I don't necessarily know how much combine grades really matter to you, but the fact that McCormick's 21 has an absolute cannon for an arm, projected as an early first rounder, he might be the guy. You also have Brian Holt, another guy with, another young quarterback with a cannon of an arm. Ray Tiffin, also 21 years old. So we could look for a quarterback in the first round, or we could try to get whoever's left at the beginning of the second round. Factor that option in. Ellis Henry is 24. You have Reed Riley, who is 23, and Russ Curry is 22. And then, of course, we have some other options that I'll certainly look at later on in the draft if we somehow don't end up with one of those quarterbacks. Running back-wise, I still wanted to take a look at the top options in case some people fell. Unfortunately, the only running back, yet again, it's one running back in the first round. That is Sean Baker, who did not participate in the Combine, which is normally an amazing sign. So I expect him to be one hell of a running back. Of course, we took Hughes last year, but, one hell of a tandem could be an option. Just throwing that out there. Fullback-wise, we have Riley Steltz, who we'll look at later on. Wide receiver-wise, we do have a couple of options, which is quite nice. At the very top, he was on the draft stories, Xavier Tarrant, the 23-year-old, fast, agile, 6'6", can jump, projected as a mid-first rounder, but he could be something special. The one downside, I'd say, is that he's 23. There's also CJ Skuta, who is 21. Decent speed and vert jump, 6'4", pretty horrible agility. Good route runner, though. Don't know if he's number one worthy. Scott Jarrett, a Wildcat of New Hampshire. The speed and agility, I don't know. Probably not number one pick worthy. We also have DeMarco Ivory, who's 23, and again, the speed and agility, very questionable. But he's got good height, good vert jump, and decent hands. But again, number one pick worthy, probably not. And again, there are some options, not including Anthony Houston, but there are some options later on in the draft that are, that could be helpful. It would be nice to end up with a better wide receiver, or at least a wide receiver in general. Tight end-wise, nobody great. Unfortunately, nobody projected higher than the third round. Offensive line-wise, the first guy we have is Lane Stevenson, the 23-year-old. And I mean, he looks great. He's, again, 23. Wish he was a little bit younger, but he looks like he's going to be amazing. We also have Tanner Strickland, who also looks like he is going to be absolutely incredible. We also have Jack Mauti, who, again, looks like he's going to be pretty damn good. There are some strong O-line options in this draft. And thankfully, at least due to the depth of the center position in this draft, we have some options that we could, potentially get later on in the draft. Curry Milton, gonna drop him down, and then right tackle we have nobody. So, it's looking kind of rough. There wasn't a single guy there who was worth adding to the list. Defensively, Dallas Molinaro is probably going to be a beat. Yeah. 21, and as a speed rusher, the bench press still solid. He could be something special. And in general, again, there could be some decent options later on. Right on, we have Gilbert Baggs. Great name. Looks like a great talent as well. You guys have a tough choice, is the point. But Gilbert Baggs looks like he could be great. Gerard Coleman, probably going to be pretty good as well. Might fall to the second round. And Mitchell Renays. Not bad. Not great, but not bad in terms of combine results. Defensive tackle, there are so many players available. So many players available. It was probably the deepest position for the draft. But we first up have Connor Weaver, the 22-year-old. Bench press is probably a little bit low. Daniel Iglesias, the top bench press among defensive tackles for the 21-year-old. Walter Hayden at 23-year-old. Jamari Manning. Amazing name. And that's it for first round projections. Linebacker-wise, it's a little bit rough to kick things off. Might be some guys worth picking up a bit later on. Middle linebacker, we have another player in Griffin Beekman who did not participate in the Combine, so we'll keep that in mind. He could be a steal in the third round. But in the first round, we do have Barry Gresham out of UMaine, who looks like he could be relatively decent. And, of course, we took an outside linebacker in the last draft, and he's looking pretty good. I mean, all of these guys can just go. Just get out of here, please. But Roman Stone is the first-round projection, 21-year-old out of Louisville. Corners, of course, we took one first overall last year, but we could set up one hell of a dominant tandem if we chose to do so. There are a lot of corners available in this draft, in case you could not tell, including Mac McCaleb with 2 Bs for some reason. Why? Don't know, but that's a name they programmed in. Caleb with 2 Bs. But as far as the corners go, we do have Bradley Turner, 24 years old, but does look like a bit of a monster, and Taiwan Stephen, who at 21 looks like a bit of a monster, if not a tad bit slow. Safety-wise, only one free safety projected to go in the first round. That is Angel Hill, or Kurt Angle Hill. It's Angel. Still, looking pretty damn good, if we're going to be honest. We also have Lennox Poindexter, the 24-year-old, and Auger Collier, I imagine it would be, the 22-year-old, who also looks pretty damn good. And Eric Rasmussen, who I might take a look at because our kicker ended up sucking. So needless to say, you guys have a tough choice. Every single player who is projected to be a first-round pick will be in the straw poll in the comments down below. Vote for any player that you would like to see me take in the first round here with this first overall pick. The man with the most votes will be the guy that we take. And hopefully, the rest of the draft can solve itself out and we can do a little bit better than we did last year. Now, wait, what? Where's our sixth? What the fuck? Why is it not saying we have a 6th round pick? What? I can still see what the fuck? I didn't make a trade. I can promise you that. What the Huh. So we just had a 6th round pick disappear. And I don't know why. What the... This series is cursed. Like, is it a glitch? Do we actually have the 6th round pick, or do we legitimately not have a 6th round pick? I don't even know anymore. My head hurts. I need a nap. You know the deal. Check out the poll in the description. We might only have 5 picks in the next draft, which means, I mean, my God, there's even more pressure for me to deliver on these picks. What the hell?